What up, what up, what up? This is Mike the Philosopher here with another one. This one, the Keyra interview. Listen, I feel like I've been hard on Keyra. And I feel like she, in a lot of ways, she deserved that smoke, right? But I wanted to try to see her from a different side, kind of give her side of the story, so to speak. Okay, so I decided to cover an interview done by Crystal here. So without further ado, let's go in, and this is for Keyra.
My beautiful guest for tonight, Keyra.
Hello, friends. Yay.
Hey, lady, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am in Houston, and can I tell you that Houston is hot? Like, I don't know what's happening in Dallas, but Houston, the temperature is like over 100 degrees and has been for the last 3 days.
Well, it's hot in Dallas too, but I would say that it's a little bit more humidity down there. So, yeah.
We're dying.
Yeah.
We are dying, but first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to come on tonight. I usually do recaps with alumni, but I felt like I wanted to have you on because of what happened on last week's episode, and then absolutely because of what happened on tonight's episode. And so I reached out to you. I want to make sure everybody understands. I reached out to Keyra after I saw her statement, and I asked her, would she be open to coming on and talking about it? Because I really feel like for everybody on this show, we see an edited version of topics that hit emotional points for everybody. And I think that when you all are on the show, we don't get a chance to see the full picture. And so I welcome guests to come on and really be able to give us a full perspective so we can kind of understand the context behind what we saw. Because I think that on Ready to Love, the age gaps provide context to where everyone else in their life. So when we see some of the dates that you're going on, we saw you doing a TikTok dance tonight. Like, of course, that makes a lot more sense than somebody, that maybe has children is a little bit, not that everybody can't TikTok all they want, but I'm just saying it definitely makes sense for a former dancer that is, just turned 30 to be doing that. Just in a different place. Did you feel like the men on the show were a good fit for you age-wise?
That's a great question. Age-wise, I've dated older.
Okay, how much older, Keyra?
I've dated older. I dabbled a little bit in the sugar daddy thing, and I was like, that's not for me.
Okay. Right.
Just being honest, I think
we
all kind of go through oh my gosh, should I date an older man? But it just wasn't for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm trying to talk to men my dad's age, and that's gross.
Yeah.
So the age thing didn't really bother me. It was more of do these men have purpose? Do they know where they're going? Can they lead me somewhere? Because the younger men are still trying to figure out themselves. So if these men are older, I'm just hoping that they actually know and have a plan for their life, or have asked God to give them a vision.
Right.
And so what I realized on the show is, in my opinion, it wasn't an even playing field because there was 10 men, 10 women, okay? 7 of the men had kids, 5 of the women had kids. I just felt like that was already not even really ideal. And then also a lot of the men, there was it was Habibi and Q and Chris, who were more in the lower 30s. And then the rest of them were older, had been married. So I don't know. I just felt like if they recruited me and asked me to come on the show, I would have hoped they were getting the cream of the crops. And someone who,
would be more of an equally yoked situation with your situation. That, I guess it's, everyone dates different.
Keyra, you would hope Ready to Love would get you the cream of the crop. Why? Because you view yourself as the cream of the crop. What makes you cream of the crop? It's a fair question. What makes you cream of the crop? Are you the most beautiful? That's relative, depending on who you ask. Are you the most cooperative? That's relative. Are you the most in shape, fit? That's subject. What are you the most feminine? That's questionable. But I'm gonna tell you, a woman who has all those things, that's the cream of the crop. Now ask yourself, do you have all of that? From my standpoint, you don't have all of that. And I'm just being honest. This is the problem. A lot of women who can be considered basic think they deserve the top guys. Think they deserve the cream of the crop. The 2%. The 2% of men. Maybe even the 1%. And they come to the table basic. So those guys have literally the pick of the litter for the most part. They smash everything in their vicinity because all these women are thirsting for those guys. And then when those men get all of those women, men ain't ish. Men ain't nothing. Men ain't this, that, and the third. Maybe if you would have went for a guy that was more suited for you, maybe your chances of it working out would be better. I'm not saying that guy wouldn't do a lot of stuff that the high value man do, or the most wanted man would do. But the chances are it might work out a little bit better. In other words, be more realistic, ladies, with the guy, with who you are, first of all. How men view you, how men value you, and then date into that category. Now, I know everybody wants to reach up for someone and date someone that they can reach up and look up to. I get that. But when you start having results that don't work out and you just end up racking up your own body count, don't blame the men for that. You have yourselves to blame for that because you're not being realistic. Everybody wants that fantasy. I get it. Everybody wants that Cinderella story. I get it. But this is real life. This is real life. Because I'm going to tell you something. Men can't do that. Men have to live in reality all the time. Some big, fat, ugly guy not going to waste his time trying to go after a supermodel because he got to live in reality. Women got to do the same. Get rid of the Disney, get into the real. That's all I'm saying. Let's go in.
But that's real. I think, at your age, you should be figuring out what you want. You should be experimenting and trying to figure out what works for you. What were some of the things, before we get into all the things that have happened this season, because not just you, it's been a lot happening, a lot of things happening outside of people falling in love. I don't think that anybody really has seen a lot of connection, but we have seen a lot of issues with the women getting along. We've seen a lot of going back and forth with different people. So there's a lot happening this season. But what were some of the things that you think that you may need to have worked on during your dating experience, before the show? What was something that you saw, okay, well, I may need to work on this, or I may need to be more intentional in this area? Or was there anything?
So my biggest thing is I have to I'm intentional when I like you.
Okay.
If there's 10 men and I wasn't really vibing with you or had a connection, it was very hard to retain information.
Okay.
And I'm working too. So you said earlier, you had to take a pause. Oh no, I was still working.
Yeah.
I still was helping people buy and sell houses. So I think that going into this journey, looking back, I wish I would have gone into it with a game plan of like, okay, girl, we have to write things down because we're not going to be able to remember all these men's names, their ages, if they got kids, if they don't have kids, did they buy a house,
who belongs to who, and all that. Yeah.
So I think that was one of my biggest struggles, is to retain the information. And I guess another thing, just like I needed to work on before going in here, is like, how open am I really?
Okay.
To like all possibilities. Like if you've been married, if you have kids, I mean, I'm open now. I think initially going into it, I really felt like if you recruited me and I told you guys what I wanted and then y'all don't have it, I'm like, what we doing here?
Right.
So I think that
My question will be, what is it that you want, Keyra? You're not even sure if you're ready. You wasn't even paying attention. It's pretty clear to me you wasn't ready to love. Again, I think that maybe the motive to have you on the show was something a little different. Was to have this culturally, white, black girl be on the show. For all of those sisters who live in that culture, you have a representative. But the problem is, she wasn't even paying attention to the men. She didn't even think enough of them to remember their names, remember their situation. How are they supposed to make a connection with her? I question why Keyra was on the show at all anyway. I thought it was a bad cast, but you gotta represent black women who live over here, who are in her category. But clearly she wasn't ready to love. She looking for cream of the crop. She talking about where are my guys? What is your guys? And I can guarantee you her guys don't want her. The guys that she would want, they probably don't want her. Most of them. 99% of them. Just my opinion, because they will have a selection that is closer to what men are looking for. High value men, fit, feminine, and friendly. I'll give her the friendly part. She's halfway in the fit part. Once she have a kid, though, she's not going to be fit no more. It's going to be a wrap. It's going to mess up her whole body. That's just my opinion. And I'm experienced enough to know. Feminine. I'd say she's feminine. So she's halfway fit. She's halfway feminine. Well, she's a lot of feminine. I give her all of the feminine. I'll give her some of the friendly, but the thing is, it's a facade. It's an act. It's not, because she'll act friendly towards you and she'll insult you at the same time. Oh, you date white women, or she'll judge you. Oh, you this, you that. That ain't necessarily friendly. But anyway, I just don't think she was ready to love. But let's go in.
I wish I would have been a little bit more open.
Okay. That's fair.
Wasn't even open.
That is fair. Let me ask you this before we get into the Ready to Love. Last pre-question. You see you've dated different ages. Have you dated outside of your race before?
So I get this question all the time. So when it comes to dating outside my race, I've gone on dates, and I will say dates with people outside my race, but I've never been exclusive with anyone outside my color. I tell, because my best friend is white, and she always is like, Keyra, I don't know why people think you like white men. I'm like, I know, because I'm gonna have a fully black baby, just like you're gonna have a fully white baby.
Right.
Like, I love you, sister. So no, I have not exclusively dated outside my race, but I have gone on dates.
Okay. That's okay.
Now, in one of my episodes, one of my shows, I said that Keyra is probably the black sheep of her friends, and she's not having success with white men. So she want a brother who loves black women, so that she will have an unfair advantage against her white friends. It's looking like that's kind of true. And the reason why is because clearly she don't have no problem dating white men. She just want to make sure you haven't been dating white women. It's okay for her to date white men. But like I said, she wasn't having success with these men. So let me go to the brothers, because I can have an unfair advantage with them. Maybe that'll work. And I said she couldn't compete with her friends. Yeah, she went on a couple of dates, probably with some blind dates, probably with some, some dates that were online or something like that. Went out, and the white guys just wasn't feeling her. Let me tell you something. If one of those white guys would have, she'd be married to one of those guys right now if they would have accepted her. And we wouldn't be even talking about this chick. But because those didn't work out, let me go to the brothers. Maybe I'll have. So we're the backup plan for Keyra. We're the black men are the backup plan. I'm getting up there in age. She was 29 and she just turned 30. So I'm going to give her a little bit of slack. Okay. She's still kind of young minded, but I think that I was right when I said that. I think that I was right that she don't have no problem with interracial dating long as she's doing it, but she don't like no black man to do it. I cannot stand hypocrisy. I just can't. Let's go in.
Fair. I mean, that's a fair question, considering, because when you brought up the statement early on that, most of your friends are white, I think, and I could totally understand that, going to University of Oklahoma where there were 500 blacks and 23,000 whites. I understand those type of spaces. But it also made sense that for me, I was like, well, maybe that's why she's asking these questions of Quentin. Maybe that's something that she is open to, or if not, we need to, we just want to get clarity on that. So if you would be open to going on a date, would you be open to being in a relationship if you had the right chemistry and he really, it was a great experience? Because I'm assuming if you were open to going on a date, you would be open to get to know the guy a little bit better.
Oh yeah, I'm open to get to know them, but I never felt like it was something that I wanted to like fully pursue. Gotcha. And so like you said, you went to Oklahoma, I went to LSU.
Mm-hmm. And okay. So it's very different. Yeah.
I was open to get to know them, but I don't feel like it was something I was willing to pursue. Why are you on a date with them then? Why are you on the date? That makes zero sense. If Quentin said, yeah, I dated white women before, but it was not something I was wanting to pursue. Yeah, I went on a date with white women. Yeah, but it wasn't something I was willing to pursue. Would you believe him? Hell no. You wouldn't believe him. You'd be like, well, why did you go on a date with them? If you wasn't trying to you wasn't trying to pursue them, why would you even bother going on a date? This is why this is all BS. Yeah, I went on a date with them, but I didn't feel like it was something I was willing to pursue. Why would you waste your time? Why would you voluntarily waste your time? Bull. I'll just leave it that way. Because if Quentin would have said, like, they didn't even believe Marvin when he was saying his stuff. So if Quentin would have said, yeah, I dated some white women, but it wasn't something I was trying to pursue, you would not believe Quentin for nothing. Keep it real. I cannot stand hypocrisy. I cannot stand the hypocritical ways of a lot of women. They feel like it's okay for them to do it, but if the man do it, it's all kind of problems. And it's a way to give themselves an advantage. Okay, I can do what you can't do, and that is complete BS. I can't deal with that. Let's go in.
Yeah, I cheered there. And honestly, that statement really came from like LSU. I was there when Odell was there. He was dating people from the dance team who were white. So it's like, it was really more of like a preference. Like, I don't know. Internet has made me really like rethink what I say, because I just feel like we're in a very hypersensitive world. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I just think that me asking a preference question is not like a huge deal in my opinion, because if I asked you, what was your preference before you got married? You had a preference of what you wanted. I think that it was just a preference question. Now, could I have worded it differently? Absolutely. And so I take ownership of that. I definitely will say, you know, moving forward, I don't think I will be, and it wasn't abrupt. I wasn't like, we sat down, we were like, so tell me, do you like white women? You know, it was just like,
that's how it came. But still, that's I think for me, and you guys can let me know in the chat. Shouts out to the chat. They're in here tonight. But I think watching it was more about, it seemed like it was very abrupt, and it felt like, you know, I was like, I wonder, was she told to ask that question? Because even when you're grilling people, as you're told to do, right? You're told to ask about, you know, your red flags and things like that. It, from what we're watching, it just seems like you guys sat down, and as soon as the conversation opened, you went in with the so do you
tell me this, honey, like just going in with heart. No. So I'm really direct, and I'm not really shy. So when I mentioned it in the ladies lounge and I had other people agree, I felt like, why am I doing him a disservice? Why am I assuming? Because I'm not an assuming type of woman. So I said, let me ask him. But we sat down, we talked about the workout thing. Like, he even said like, oh, I know that they don't work out. I'm like, I work out. Yeah. So we sat there, we talked, and then I asked the question. And then, you know, but of course, editing, they want, and when it comes to editing too, you got to realize editing is when they take an original statement and chop it up to bring it out into a completely different context. And I think that that's kind of what has been happening for me. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, it wasn't abrupt. We sat down, we talked for a bit, and then I got into it.
So did you?
Okay, so here's my thing about this. Her asking Quentin, did he date white women? I'm gonna give her a pass on that. Even if it was not immediate, even if it was a conversation, whatever, that she just brought up. But here's where I have the problem. Then she said, so what about Latina? Or no, she said, so what about Mexicans? Are they your type? That's when it became insulting. If you ask her, if he dated white women, okay, I could kind of let that one slide. Well, first of all, she said, you look like the type that date white women. First of all, that was insulting, okay, by itself. But even if I give that a pass, then you say, okay, so what about Mexicans? And these are your words. Okay, so do you date Mexicans? Now you're implying that he don't like black women. That's when it becomes super insulting. Okay? You ask him about white women, and then you ask him about Mexicans. How else was he supposed to take that? You messed up, especially when you mention Mexicans, because it's not just about having a preference. You say it's a preference question. No, it's a I dislike black women question, because you didn't just ask about white women. You asked about Mexican women too. You see? So you trying to make it seem like he is self-hating and he don't want to be with black women. Okay, well, if it ain't white women, it got to be somebody else that you dating, because you don't look like you love us. That's really what it sounded like. That's really what it sounded like. And that's why it was insulting. It was already insulting with the white woman question. And then you double down with the Mexican question. So this whole, I was asking a preference question. No, you wasn't asking a preference. You was questioning if he loved his own women. That's what you were questioning. Your preference must be anything but us. Is your preference anything but us? That's not necessarily a preference question. A preference question is, who do you prefer? That's a preference question. Who do you prefer? Who do you love? You should have asked him that instead. Who do you love, Quentin? Black women, white women? What is your preference? That's how you should have asked that question. But you said you look like somebody who would date white women. Oh, it's not white women? Then it must be Mexicans. That's when it's all the way insulting. So please, with the whole preference question stuff, because I'm not buying it. I don't know if other people are, but I sure ain't. Anyway, let's go in.
Did you notice that because in his confessional, he did seem like it rubbed him the wrong way? Did you pick up on that energy when you guys were there? Could you tell that he was a little offended by the question?
To be honest with you, Quentin seemed like he already knew I was going to ask a question to that extent, because being on a dating show and you have interviewed so many celebrities that have been on reality TV, there's a lot of alliances, there's a lot of group texts. When I said that in the ladies' lounge 2 weeks ago, he was already aware of it.
Right.
So to me, he was prepared. So in our dialect, if you see it, he kind of made like subtle faces, but it wasn't something as significant as in his confessionals. In his confessionals, he was like, wow, like, why would I be here? And it's like, other people from other seasons have been here and they don't necessarily like black women. And once again, it was a question, a preference question. So my opinion, if it wasn't your preference, you just say no and you move on.
True.
However, people like to drag it out, and some people like to drag you along with it. So
you just say no and you move on. How could he move on when you ask him a follow-up question about Mexicans? Stop playing with me, Keyra. Stop playing. You might fool some of these other people, okay, but you're not fooling me. You just, if you ask the preference question and you just ask it and then you move on. How can he move on when you ask him about Mexican? And he corrected you by saying Latinas. Now it's getting to a point of he don't like his own women. You can't just stroll by that. You can't just move on. Now you're questioning my character. Now you questioning who I love. Now you telling me you see something in me that is self-hating, and that's insulting. Don't play. You don't see the error in your ways? Listen, she just turned 30, okay? And she got some more learning to do. It's understandable. She got some more learning to do. I hope she see this video and say, you know what? I see that point of view, because she making it seem like she's downplaying it so much to the point of, yeah, I just asked him a preference question and, you just answer it and you move on. No, it don't work like that. Especially the way you asked it and the follow-up question after that. It don't work like that. Learn from this and improve how you ask questions, how you approach people. I would say stop judging people altogether, because you've been doing that all season. You've been judging Quentin. You've been judging Marvin. You've been judging Morier, you've been judging every man except for Herbert. Every man except for Herbert. Stop judging people and jumping to conclusions. Let's start there. That will fix a whole lot of your problems. And this is why the other ladies in the show didn't rock with you. They didn't like it either. You talking about one of their dudes, Quentin. Janelle was very defensive on that. You ain't gonna just talk about my dude. That I love about Janelle. She was holding her dude down. I would even say Jessica too. You know, it's just certain ways that you move, and you are questioning other people's self-hate, and you look like you're moving in self-hate. Nobody likes a hypocrite. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I think, we had Tequila on early on, and she did bring up the fact that, and we actually saw it. It wasn't even just hearsay. She told us, but we saw the clip where Quentin said he wasn't really attracted to anyone in the cast. Were you aware of that statement? Obviously, she brought that up in the ladies' lounge. What were your thoughts? And was that a part of what, kind of encouraged you to ask him that question? Because that was a bold statement to make. And I don't know if he was just saying it to her to keep from hurting her feelings because he might not have been attracted to her, or.
That's exactly right, Crystal. I think that's why he said it to her. Some women you can talk to, some women you can't, because they're gonna use it. They're gonna use it against you. They're gonna run tell that. And sure enough, Tequila did that. But I think that Quentin, first of all, again, I said, you got to pay attention to how Quentin was moving. He's moving with intention with Janelle. He's moving with intention with Lee. He's clearly chosen the two ladies that he gravitates to the most. I haven't heard any other guy on this show say she's beautiful more than Quentin. He says that about Janelle practically every chance he gets. So the question is Quentin attracted to any of the ladies here? Now, to be fair, they don't see what he say in the confessionals. They probably don't see what he's saying in these confessionals. But he's saying in his confessionals, she's beautiful. I love her face. She's amazing. I want to see her hit balls in front of me. Well, he did say that in a man's meeting. He says how Janelle is beautiful. I don't know how much he's saying that in front of the ladies. But from our point of view, we know Quentin is attracted to some of the ladies on the show. So you got to look at what he said to Tequila. My guess is, for whatever reason, he didn't want to show his cards to Tequila. Now, that's only Quentin will know why he didn't want to show his cards to Tequila. My only guess is he wasn't attracted to Tequila, so he didn't want to give her no ammunition, because he probably figured if he would have said that to Tequila, she would have had the follow-up question of, well, who you attracted to? And then he would have had to tell her his business. So to avoid telling this chick all my business, I'm going to just say I'm not attracted to nobody and keep it pushing. So I think he did that because he didn't want to show his cards to Tequila. But the way he's moving is without question. He's attracted to women on the show. Anyway, let's go in.
Or if that was really his truth, because she said, well, there's so many beautiful, different shades, different colors, Black women, how can you not be interested in anyone? And for him to say that, what are your thoughts on that? And do you have any more context on that comment?
So with Quinn, I think he's a great guy. He's not my cup of tea. But at the mixer, I could just tell it didn't seem like he was like super open. Like I felt like I had to lead the conversation. And if you remember in the beginning of our convo, I told you I want a leader. I want a man who has purpose, who has vision. So I want someone who can,
sees you as that, right? Yeah, you don't have to pull it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one thing I see this season a lot is women asking their men, what's going on? And it's like the guys are not really, you don't see any guy really truly pursuing a woman as of yet. Now, maybe that's something that's being edited out. But if I had to say, a guy that was really earnestly pursuing someone, I really couldn't say. It seems maybe that Quentin maybe is pursuing Janelle, but we don't see that. We hear that, but we don't see it. All right, let's go back to when you first arrived. So they recruit you to be on the show. You come on this dating show.
Well, first let me say this. I see Phil going after Aries. Full court press on Aries. I see Quentin going after Janelle. I probably would say that those are only two guys that I see moving with some intention, mainly because the other guys are questioning the women. You're not going to see a whole lot of guys going after women if they're questioning these women. Men are very keen to red flags in women. So they're not going to move with intention if they seeing too many red flags. Like Chris, for instance. I think he see too many red flags in Jessica to really go 10 toes down for her. I think Christopher was seeing red flags in a lot of the ladies. Who else? I think Morier, he really be seeing red flags, but he's still going after Jessica. He's saying him and Jessica are rocking out, but he's pretty good at seeing red flags. He's seen them in Keyra. Who else? And Herbert, I think he's just trying to feel his way around to see which chick he rocks with the most, Janelle or what's her name? Kat. I think he's super attracted to Kat. So I think he's attracted to Kat. I think he's attracted to Lee. So he's kind of feeling his way around he probably feel like he the top guy, so he probably feel like he gonna choose wisely. The chick that he choose gonna be for him, and he's just still trying to feel everybody around. And he even, went to Kira's house to check her out, but it don't look like he was connecting well with Kira either. So he's trying to he got all the options. So it's going to take some time for him to sort all of that out. But anyway, let's go in.
Dating show is on OWN, and you're kind of in the demographic, a little bit younger than the main demographic. What do you think when you first walk in and you see everybody? Are you attracted to anyone off the top? Are you disappointed in the way the aesthetics are looking in the room? What are your first thoughts when you just see the options in the room?
So when I see the options in the room, I'm just kind of like, I'm like, okay, there's some good looking people here. I'm big on teeth and okay. I like some muscles. I mean, I think we all do. Hello. And then I'm really big on conversation because look, I want your exterior to match your interior. Mm-hmm. And so I was more curious to get to know more people. And I didn't feel like a lot of people were like, super accommodating, like not accommodating, but like super themselves because it was the first day, Right. And I come in like, hello, I'm here. Like what you see is what you get. And that's what makes me giggle about this online internet stuff. Like, Keyra's just so fake. I'm like, I've been me from the very beginning, honey. So
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. Just say you don't like me and
Right.
carry on.
Right. Well,
So,
we got to that. We did get to that today, but in tonight's episode. But so did you have any initial connections as far as like, because obviously there's not, you're getting to know people, but for you, because like, again, we're not seeing really any real connections. Who were you most connected with, during these first 6 episodes?
so I liked Habibi's personality. I thought that his personality was a lot, but it seemed authentic. So I was like, okay, we'll see.
Okay.
I liked Herbert because he was very blunt, and he was like, I remember like being like, can you tell me your name? He was like, I've already told you my name. Now this is the last time I'm gonna tell you. And I was like, oh my goodness, honey, let me remember your name. So I like that. So I would say maybe them two.
Okay.
Marvin, I liked how Marvin looked. I just felt like it was just a little wow for me.
Yeah.
But off jump, just from looking at someone, it was the new Chris. The new Chris, when I first saw him, I was like, hello, now we're talking, darling. Come on. Reel him in,
Where were you born, Keyra?
I was born in Dallas.
You're born in Dallas. Okay, so you're that true Southern belle. I'm like, your accent is adorable. Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, Chris, that makes sense. Chris seemed a little bit younger. And it seems like the other ladies weren't really connecting with him, but we did see you have that conversation with him, and it didn't seem, you guys didn't seem mismatched. Did you agree with the statements that some of the ladies made tonight in the ladies' lounge about the fact that he seemed like he was trying to sell the ladies as opposed to actually like getting to know you all?
From my experience, no, he was not trying to sell me. He was actually trying to get to know me. They didn't even show the date that we had. We had a date at a dog park. He got to meet Jake. It was like so cute. And I felt like I got to dig a little deeper with him. Once again, I think it goes back to the whole group messages, and I think that when he had dates with other people and he would go in saying who he's connected with, and it wasn't the posse that they wanted him to, so they just wanted to get rid of him. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
If you really dissect the show, like the whole Black culture thing is, to me, like a narrative that 3 of them are really pushing. And I don't know. I just feel like
okay, let's just address it. Which are you talking about? Janelle and Jessica?
Janelle, Jessica, and Marie.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that since Jessica was connected to Marie, when he felt like I didn't have Black culture, and he saw how distasteful I felt about it, I feel like he had a conversation with Jessica, and Jessica and Janelle are friends. So we're gonna ride this wheel off and push this in her face, because we know that she does not like this, or really hasn't really had to explain her Blackness before.
I guess I'm confused about what that meant, because he mentioned that he's very he's very much, I guess, an activist and very involved in the culture, and I think that's admirable. But what was the contention? Because it just seemed, why do you think he asked you about that? Where did that come from that we're missing? Because it just seemed very out of the blue for him to say, I don't think that, we saw him talk about that in the men's lounge last week, that he didn't feel like you were would be able to really support a man that was connected to his community and his culture. And I just, where do you think that statement came from?
I think it comes from how everyone prejudges me. It comes from me just opening my mouth. I mean, if I just think about it from my upbringing, and just like all the same thing I get over and over, like literally this past weekend, I was at STK sitting out at the bar until my friend got there for her birthday. And then there's these 2 Black women who are sitting right beside me. They start talking about God. And I'm like, okay, girl, like, let me jump in. Y'all talking about God. And she was like, wait, girl, where are you from? And so I just think that I think that people judge me quickly, way quicker, before you even get to know me. And I think that that's just kind of where his prejudgment came from, was like, okay.
That's hilarious to me. People just judge you without getting to know you. You're notorious for judging other people, Keyra. Notorious. You judge practically every. First of all, you judge every man. Second of all, the women ain't too far behind. You want to judge Jessica and Janelle also. So it always bothers me when she plays the victim. Especially when it comes to this black culture. She can ask you disqualifying questions about, do you date white women? But when Marie comes to you with these cultural questions, it becomes offensive. You can judge practically every man on the show, but people can't judge you without getting to know you. And it's too much. It's too much. It's ridiculous. The very things that bother you, you do. You when it comes to the black culture, you judge. You judge Quentin. If you wouldn't have ever judged Quentin about that, you would probably halfway have a point. You would have a point. You would halfway have a point if you never judged him about that. But you did. You questioned his blackness. Now it's fair game now. Now people can do that with you. You constantly judging other people. You fair game now. They can judge you without even knowing you, because that's what you do to them. So please, with the hypocrisy, you can't throw a rock and hide your hands, and then be offended when it come back to you. It's ridiculous. Again, I'm trying to keep I'm trying to keep the point that she just turned 30. She was 29 not too long ago in January. She just turned 30. She's pretty inexperienced and young when it comes to dating. Okay. But you have to get a hold of these hypocrisies that you are portraying, because people see these. They don't like these, men or women. And you have to self-correct this. Okay, if I don't want to be judged for culture, I'm gonna stop judging other people for culture and accusing them of dating a certain type of way. If I don't want to be judging, if I don't want to be judged, I'm gonna stop judging other people too. I'm gonna stop all of these hypocrisies so that I can stay consistent. Again, I'm trying to give her a little slack because she just turned 30. She's probably the youngest person on the show. She is the youngest person on the show, but she needs to learn from her mistakes and learn from these lessons. Let's go back in.
Okay, like, is she woke enough? I don't know. Is she black enough, really?
That's unfortunate, and I think this show always brings up areas of healing that we still need to do as a community. Colorism every season is an issue, right? Every single season, and I don't think it's because it's not an issue. I think that the fact that it comes up every issue proves that it is an issue. But the idea of someone not being black enough is really unfortunate that we're still thinking that way. But I do have to ask you, Keyra, because you made a couple of statements that definitely had social media questioning. So I want to ask you for the context, right? You mentioned that you were probably the closest thing to white in the cat when they were saying, when Tequila brought up the fact that Quentin wasn't attracted to anyone. That's what. Why would you say that statement at that time?
I'm glad that you asked, because I mean, even in the shot there, it told you. I said not look wise, personality wise, and when I say that is because when I open my mouth, I'm proper. I'm extra bubbly. It comes from like the cheerleader vibes, and so it wasn't saying that like I think I'm white. It's just like That's a product of. I'm a product of my environment. Does that make sense? So if I grow up in a school where there's 85% white people, and then my whole life I'm told I act white, I think I was like, looking back, I think I was really trying to beat people to the punch of like saying that I act white, I talk white, because I've heard it my whole life. So I think that's where it came from, but how it came out wasn't as tasteful as I would have liked it. And I'm big on taking ownership of that. I definitely think that I could have worded that better, or I could have just not said that at all. But if you think about it, everybody and their mama were thinking it. I just said it, but not in the best way.
Right. Well, I think you said it as a result of what people have said to you, right? And that's what people are not taking into consideration. But I want to clear up just from my perspective, because I've heard that and that irritates me. I don't like when people say that, right? If they say, well, I have a couple of girlfriends that have said that, and we've had the conversation. I don't like that. But I think that the reason we need to have these conversations is because we need to understand there is no such thing as acting white. There's no such thing as, just because you're bubbly, you're a cheerleader, doesn't mean that you're acting white. Just because you're prissy doesn't mean that you're acting white. And I think that's the problem. That is the problem. The problem is
Is there a such thing as acting white and acting black? Yes. So I disagree with Crystal. There is a such thing as acting white and acting black, because I'm gonna tell you, some white people, some white girls, some of them act like sisters, act black. Some white boys, they act black. Some black girls, they act white. Some black boys, they act white. Black men, they act white. There is a such thing. Let's not you know, sometimes I feel like women create narratives that give themselves an advantage. They practically do it all the time. There's no such thing as acting white. Like the comment, a lot of people aren't used to different types of black people. Yeah, that's true. That a lot of people aren't used to different types of people. But here's the thing. If there wasn't a such thing as acting black or acting white, we wouldn't notice it. Okay? We wouldn't notice it. But obviously it's a thing because more than one person notices it. There is a certain type of way that the majority of white people, white women act. She happens to move like that majority. There's a certain type of way that a lot of black women act. She happens to not move in that way. It is a thing. Let's not create a gray area so that she can be saved from what she's being accused of. There's no gray area. There is a such thing. There's a such thing as acting black. Women create this, oh no, you can't do that. You can't put me in this box. Women don't like to be in a box. A lot of women don't like to be in a box. They don't like to be figured out. And most women, I'm just being real. This is one thing I noticed. It's hard when it's something negative. Women don't like to be put in that box. They create a narrative that excuses them out of being in that box. Oh, well, she act white. Oh, no, you can't really say that. There's no such thing as acting white. Bullshit. There is a such thing as acting white. And let's not just create a gray area so she can move over into that gray area. Because it is a such thing. Let's keep it black and white. No pun intended, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, let's go back in.
There is no such, we are not a monolith as Black women. And we need to stop, challenging each other's Blackness and instead accept the fact that we're all different. So I think that's the problem. And I think that's why a lot of people responded that way. Because when you ask the question, when you said the statement like, well, I'm the closest thing to it, then it's almost like that's perpetuating the stereotype that when you are proper, you do seem more, closer to white. And that's not true. That's not true. Just
all right, let me explain a little bit more. Are we a monolith? It's funny. Black people are the only people to say this. We are not a monolith. You'll only hear black people saying that. You won't never hear white people saying that. You won't hear Jewish people saying that. You won't hear Asian people saying that. The only people who don't want to be in solidarity is black people, in my opinion. We're not a monolith. African Americans, Africans. Nobody wants to be a monolith in the black community. You'll never hear this up from other groups. It's kind of annoying to me, to be honest. But she's the truth of the matter is there are different varieties. Okay, this is what makes black people dope. There are different varieties, different flavors of black people. But that's not to say that there are not different categories. So say for instance, let me just kind of give you an example. Say for instance, you have 100 black women. You probably will have four to five of those black women that act like Keyra. So that leaves another 95% of those black women who are over here, who act like this over here. Act like the majority of black women. That 4 to 5% act like the 95% of white women over here. We're not a monolith. That's true. You're going to have some one-offs, 5%. But that 5% moves like the 95% of the other culture. Does that mean they're not acting white? It's fair to say they are. They are acting white because they move like the majority of the white women. But we're not a monolith. No, it's not 100%. It's only 5%. But it's enough. It's a 5% that we can say that they move like them. Now, in that same white, culture, you have 5 white women who move like them. The black women, that 95% black women. Guess what people are going to say about them? They act black. You must got a black boyfriend. Do your parents know? Okay. Are they a monolith? No. But they move like the majority of this culture. And let me say this. I'm not saying either one is wrong. If 5% of the sisters move like the majority of them, that's not where I have a problem. I expect our people to be the most diverse on the planet. If Keyra moved like that, I don't knock her for that. You probably never heard me say that that's my problem with her, is that she moved like them. I don't care about that. I just care about the hypocrisies. Okay? But I don't care that she moved like them. I expect our people to be diverse. Black people are the most diverse people on the planet. If she's gonna move like them, she is a product of her environment. I totally get it. But let's not pretend that's not a thing. Let's not pretend that's not a thing. We're not a monolith. No, we're not. But we have enough information to say you move like them. Okay? Let's not create a gray area for her to dance in so she can't be held accountable for how she's moving. Again, I don't have a problem that she acts like that. You know, I have a daughter who probably is in that 5%. To be honest, I don't care. That's bubbly and you know, but she's not on Keyra's level at all. But she was raised in a culture where she was in a considered a privileged situation. So I don't even want to say it was privileged. It was just a culture that was not of the 95% majority of black women. My daughter is super pro-black though. It's kind of funny. She's fist in the air pro-black, but you'd never know it if you just talk to her. She kind of have some of Keyra's cadence and mannerism. Well, not even really mannerisms, but just her cadence and diction and how she talked. But she was around her parents enough to know that, you know, this is the mission. But at the same time, she's trying to get more and more into that culture, but into the black culture. So, but I say all that to say I'm not upset with how Keyra moves. I'm just more upset with the hypocrisies. But ladies, we have to stop creating these gray zones to live in so you don't be held accountable. It's very manipulative. You know, it's very manipulative. And you do it with your men too in relationships and things like that. But I'm not going to get into that part. But I'm saying culturally in society, I can do it, but you can't. That's when you know it's a gray area to escape accountability. Y'all got to stop doing that for real. Let's go back in.
But I will say this, Crystal, in the black community, yes, it is. If you talk proper, there is no such thing as actually acting white. That is like, I don't know how you can act a color. Okay. I don't. Mm-hmm. But we have brainwashed. This is like a deep rooted issue. This isn't something that Keyra can come on here and tell her perspective, and then everybody is going to have a better perspective. Like, I think that we have been not brainwashed, but we have been taught that there's only a certain type of black.
Well, that too. Yeah.
You know? And so, I don't know. It's really unfortunate. And when I watched it, it did seem as if I was like trying to seem like I was happy about it. I'm not excited that people think I act white. Okay. I was just saying I'm the closest thing to white here. And then they laughed and I'm like, what? Y'all all think it. Like, if you look at it, it wasn't like I was laughing like, oh my gosh, I'm I wasn't.
Right. Well, I think if a person doesn't know that experience, it could come off to them that way, right? If you've never, when I watched it, I was like, I totally understand where she's coming from, but I also had an experience that was much like yours, coming from Oklahoma, very much like yours. But I also understand, and I think that, like I said, it's a teachable moment, because talking proper does not mean you're talking white. It doesn't. It just, everyone has a different vocal tone and all that. But
I would agree that talking proper or whatever doesn't mean talking white. White people don't, you know, well, I kind of want to say white people don't own English, but they kind of do. I mean, we are speaking their language for the most part. But I understand what Crystal is saying, and again, it's just a way to live in the gray zone, But at the same time, black people don't have their language anymore, so it's not necessarily a monopoly of black people to talk a certain type of. I mean, white people to talk a certain type of way. It's not their monopoly to have proper tone, etiquette, and all that other stuff, because a lot of us is born and raised here in America, and we have the same, English speaking skills as anybody else. We like to use slang because it gives us our own identity, and it separates us from them. So it's one way of freedom for us, is to use our own language. So we prefer slang. That's why we use slang. It's not because we don't want to talk proper. It's because we want to keep our own, some form of our own identity to us. So we rebel with properly English speaking people, but some black people don't. They fully embrace that culture, so they talk that way. They don't have a rebellion towards the matrix, so to speak. And a lot of times people look at it like, oh, you are fully engulfed in that culture, and I can tell because you've accepted their form of language. Therefore, you must want to be white, because you haven't even embraced our way of speaking, which is really one of the only freedoms that we ever had, is how we talk to each other. So, all that being said, I'm not gonna hold you. If you want to check out the rest of this interview, go to Crystal's channel. I have the link in the description, and check out the full interview of Keyra. Let me know what y'all think, and let me end it on this, okay? Let me end it on this. Keyra, I'm not mad at how she talks. I'm not mad at none of that. Okay, she was 29, just turned 30, so she been 30 for about 6 months now. Well, 8 months now. So she still got some learning to do. Let me say something positive about Keyra. One thing I like about Keyra is that she don't harbor contentment. She don't harbor stress. She pretty much is like a duck. She lets a lot of stuff roll off of her, okay? And she don't bring that stress or that trauma or whatever into relationships. She don't carry any of her mental baggage with her. She get offended, and she for the most part keep it moving. You won't really know how it's really affecting her, and it looks like it doesn't really affect her too much. It could be a problem because she may have a mental breakdown later on, and all that just comes out. But for the most part, she seems to be a person who is happy with herself and doesn't carry and harbor any animosities. That's one thing I like about her. She is super friendly. She is super bubbly. That is nice. That is relatively attractive. So, and she's pretty young. So I'm going to give Keyra some grace here. She does have a couple learning things, but I'm not going to beat her over the head with those things. I just hope that she learned those things. I like the fact that she doesn't harbor any animosities. She doesn't carry her stresses. I like that. She is bubbly. She is relatively fun to be around as long as she don't judge you. Okay. She can be fun to be around if she learns how to move a little differently. I could hang out with her easily, you know. She just like, if she was a wife to somebody, she would be someone you would be glad to come home to. You know what I mean? Because I could see her picking up your spirits. If she really loved you, she could be that wife that really pick up your spirits and going to be that cheerleader that every man needs and deserves, right? So I think for the right man, she can be the right woman. And I'll leave it on that. I'll leave it on a positive note about Keyra. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'd be really interested to know. Hit the like, share, and subscribe seriously on that. All right, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.